Okay, let's start the last keynote speech of the first Prime Global Student Annual Summit, the PGS Summit 2020. And last but not least, for sure, let's discuss now the Youth 2030 agenda. And we have a stellar guest here, Sudha Balakrishnan, the head of the Youth 2030 Secretariat, the head of the United Nations Youth Strategy. A physician and a development strategy from India, Sudha brings in more than 20 years of experience in public policy, programming, advocacy, both in the field and globally. She has worked across a range of development issues with public institutions, private sector, and the United Nations, of course, from UNICEF to the UN Secretariat. Youth development and empowerment has been at the core of her work throughout her career, and she firmly believes that young people are the hope for a sustainable future. Me too. She is currently based in New York, like me, in the office of the Secretary General Envoy on Youth, and leads the UN-wide implementation of the Youth 2030 Agenda, or the Youth Strategy, in support of the Sustainable Development Goals that Prime Global Student is also part of this framework. She is passionate about the use of technology, new products, big data, and novel analytics to scale up programs and reach the 2030 goals, leaving no one behind. So Sudha, it has been a long journey from the PGS Summit so far. We have more than 700 registrants from 7 countries, 45 speakers from 25 countries, well diverse, gender balance. And here we are on the last but not least panel. Welcome you. Thank you so much for sharing your time. It's an honor for the Prime Global students to welcome you. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Paulo. It's great to be here today and lovely meeting you all, wherever in the globe you are sitting right now. So today we will speak about the Youth 2030, the UN Youth Strategy. And before I start off, I just wanted to go back a little bit in time and see where we started. So this was a glorious day in spring 2019. I was sitting in my office on the 10th floor in UNICEF, New York, working on something very interesting, combining traditional data sources and new data sources, that's big data and other data sources, to improve programs for adolescents. And at that point of time, a colleague and friend walked in. She is the global lead on adolescent development and participation in UNICEF. And she walked in and said, Sudha, there's a call from the Youth on Voice office and a request for UNICEF to depute someone with strong program background to lead the global rollout of the youth strategy. And I said, okay, so we think it should be you going. I said, really? Now, how long do you want me to go? She said, 3 months, and smiled and went away. And I said, okay, so if it's 3 months, as long as I get to do whatever I'm interesting that I'm doing, I will go. So I go to the Youth on Voice office eventually after a lot of negotiations and paperwork, as would be the case in a big UN bureaucracy. I was very surprised to see a 14-page strategy, a very thin, slim document. And was told that now this needs to be implemented or rolled out across the globe. So I said, oh, nice. So that was 3 months. I went for 3 months, and then it became another 3 months. And then now it's a full 3 years of my time in the Youth on Voice office. And I have really enjoyed the time in the office and the work to roll out across the globe the UN Youth Strategy. So today, I'm delighted to be here with you all to speak about the strategy. Let me share my slide deck, and so that I'll have some props to look at. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about the UN Youth Strategy, Youth 2030, and see how the UN work on youth is being shaped around this strategy. And also, end up with some key learnings in terms of strategy implementation on youth across, and which is transferable across different strategy implementations as well. So, I'm trying to go to the next one. Okay, so in September 2018, the UN Youth 2030, the UN system-wide strategy was launched with three major objectives. One, to turbocharge UN systems work on youth. Two, to recalibrate how the UN system works on youth issues. We'll see each of these in a short time. Promote the culture of working with young people in terms of decision making and in terms of new ideas, projects, and innovations. So the UN system is a very complex structure, So let me try and explain to simplify and try and see how we can structure it. So the first one is around, there are several UN organizations, what we call entities. They have different mandates. They come in different sizes and they have different structures, and they're also placed in different parts of the world. Some of them are only at the global level. Some of them are at only the regional level. Some of them are global, regional, and at the country level. So the country level teams, some of them or most of them who are there in a country and with others who also work in the country, come together in what is called the UN country teams. We have 130 of them, which work across 162 countries. And so primarily, if you knock down the UN system, there are two parts of the, two arms of the organization. So the UN Youth Strategy is applicable to every one of them in terms of implementation and ensuring that young people's work is highlighted across the entire system. So the UN supports efforts of governments, young people, key stakeholders, and everyone else to advance global commitments on youth. And the work is cuts across all the 17 SDGs. The UN supports evidence-based policymaking. They set up or establish programs or projects, including innovations, and they also broker partnerships for results and resources. And turbocharging the UN system's work on youth literally means that, accelerate all programs of actions across different areas to ensure that the key stakeholders on youth are supported for delivering the SDG agenda. So recalibrating how the UN system works on youth issues. This was another major component of this work. And you saw that the UN system is very, very complex. So how do we bring them all together and ensure that there is no duplication of work, there is no overlap, and there are also no gaps in program implementation. So working together coherently is a key piece of the reset that was thought through. The second one is it's not only the UN working for youth, but also UN working with youth. This was a critical emphasis that was put on by the strategy. I also wanted to talk about two internal resets that are critical for the youth strategy in terms of how the UN, young people are shaping the UN itself and making it fit for the future. The components of internships and young people in the UN's workforce are two areas of work that are critical as well for the youth strategy. So to operationalize all this, a set of priorities were set up for the Youth 2030, and we call them two pillars of the youth strategy. The first one are the priority areas. This is all the policy programming areas that are needed. And then the second one, the second pillar is called the foundational areas, which are the internal resets. So let's talk a little bit around the priority areas. There are 5 priority areas of the youth strategy. And the first one is youth engagement and participation, which is a cross-cutting theme for the entire work. In whatever UN does for the youth, it engages and young people meaningfully in decision making and in all its work. So the priority area 2 is around health and education and skill development, from COVID to 21st century scaling. All of these are included in the priority area 2. And then which builds on to the priority area 3, which is around economic empowerment through decent work, entrepreneurship, and also the post-COVID recovery of green jobs, circular economy. All of those are also contained in the priority area 3. Priority area 4 is very critical as well and touches on youth and human rights and talks about youth in political participation, in participation in political processes in countries, as well as in civic engagement. And it also includes things like protection of young people who are human rights defenders or climate activists. So there are countries where there is a need for support and protection in this area. The last priority area is around peace and resilience building. And in this world of conflict, peace building, peacekeeping, and political negotiations, all of that is included in here, including young people's participation in all of these formal and informal peace building processes as well. Resilience, as well as climate change, is prominently sitting in here, though climate change goes across, climate action goes across all of these priority areas. Foundational areas are, as I said, very inward looking in terms of internal resets, and looks at how the culture, UN's culture and organizational systems support young people's participations in the UN organizations process, support knowledge and innovation and investments to accelerate young people's ideas to the forefront. And over and above all, the UN as a transparent and accountable leader for all things that are concerned with youth. So this is the wide canvas of the youth strategy, very complex UN system and also several different priorities. How do we know that this is starting to work? And how do we know where we are moving forward? So many of you are from the management side, and you must be familiar with the balanced scorecards that are very commonly used for strategy tracking purposes, strategy implementation tracking and tracking. So for the Youth 2030, we developed a set of twin scorecards, one for UN country teams and one for the UN entities. They are very interlinked. They complement one another to understand performance and also look at accountability for different areas that they're supposed to be working on. And the scorecard captures UN's work for and with youth through a set of a small set of key performance indicators and scores. The scoring system is very simple in terms of a traffic light system. There is a red, yellow, and green. And by 2024, the milestone is pegged as more than 80% of scores need to be green across all entities and UN cities. So that has been the scorecard that has led us to track progress, and it's part of the regular reporting of all the UN cities and UN country teams. And then we had one critical bottleneck that I wanted to speak about, which is how do we measure how UN organizations are working with youth and meaningfully engaging youth. While there were several principles, several documents, and global evidence in terms of what should be the principles of meaningful youth engagement, there weren't many measures that were set up. So based on 12 key principles of meaningful youth engagement around institutionally mandated, rights-based, safe, designated, resource, transparent, accessible, voluntary, informative, with reciprocal accountability, and ensuring diverse young people are involved, and treating youth as partners rather than recipients of programs or projects or beneficiaries. We built out key KPIs which are captured in the scorecard, and which talk about policies and processes, diversity of youth engaged, and youth engagement within the UN in specific strategic processes, be it programs, projects, or strategic planning initiatives. So we have this as a part of the regular reporting and the tracking, and that's also part of the scorecard that we have. So with all these tools and resources, we are into the 4th year of implementation, and we have several of the building blocks in place, and we've made as a system significant progress in terms of working for and with youth. So I'm delighted to say that as of today, 130 UN country teams across 162 countries are part of this, the UN Youth 2030 implementation. And as of today, 49 UN entities participate in the implementation of Youth 2030. So all of this information is available in the Progress Report 2022, which is the second progress report. I would encourage you to all look at the narrative report and the snapshot series. If you're interested in a specific country or in a specific entity, you can look at these 1 pages or 2 pages of what is the work that is being done and what are the results that are being achieved, where are they in terms of implementation. All of this is available online. And you can also have a look at the UN Action Supplement, which gives us examples of several interesting pieces of work. So go ahead, explore what is available there. So as we come to a close of this presentation, I wanted to talk about the key learnings that or key takeaways for a successful implementation of the strategy that we can draw from Youth 2030. And I tried to summarize this as 5 keys to successful strategy execution. The first one is engagement of stakeholders. Engage stakeholders, communicate, inspire. There is no way that we cannot not do this. The second one is set clear targets and milestones. 3 is empower people and support them with enough tools and resources so that they can deliver on the strategy. The 4th one is around innovations and cross-learning, and encouraging people to innovate and learn across countries, across regions, and everywhere else is something that is very, very critical in terms of successful strategy execution. And most important, keep measures simple, easy to understand and use, and course correct, and don't make a very complicated conceptual theoretical framework that is almost impossible to pull off. So as I close, I wanted to end with a call to all of you to engage with us and walk you through possible points of entry where you can engage with the UN system, wherever in the world you are. It could be with UN entities that have that are of interest to you in terms of their mandate, and in terms of your own interest, where there is a match, please reach out. And that's one kind of engagement that you can have with the UN system. The other one is in terms of where you're living and where you operate. There are several UN country teams. In some places, there are even field offices, multiple offices in one single country. For example, like, Ethiopia has multiple countries. India will have several offices that are available. So these country teams are also another points of entry for you to engage with and shape the work of the UN. And of course, at the global level, all of these comes together at the Office of the SG's Envoy on Youth and the Youth 2030 Secretariat, where we sit. So reach out to us for any interest and engagement in, in the Youth 2030 work. So come with us, be part of the journey for the next 8 years. Thank you. Back to you, Paolo.
Thank you so much, Sudha, for such a inspiring and precise presentation. Listen to your words. Many things stick to my mind, but definitely the idea of work for youth and with you. I personally believe that, and that's what Primes believes and what we aim to promote through the Prime Global Students. This very conference, the PGS Summit, is organized by and for students. We have the entire teams, the PGS talks behind the scenes, and it's a space to foster youth leadership and being humble to recognize that young people and students are taking action now towards sustainability. So we listen a lot about the leaders of tomorrow, but the leaders of tomorrow are leaders today. And us, as the United Nations, our mission is to empower these youth agents, provide them space, tools, and resources, as you said, to foster this meaningful and impactful agency. And above all, via cooperation. So here at Prime, we work a lot with management and business students. And in the classroom, they are taught about competition, right? And competition it's important because it fosters innovation. But on the other hand, cooperation enables a scale. And has been a beautiful journey to work side by side with these students in the past year and see how they could develop through cooperation, work with students all over the world, empathy, trust, adaptability, diverse. Many of the skills, they are very, very important and essential for us to achieve the sustainable goals. So Sudha, thank you so much. It's an honor for us to welcome the head of youth strategy in the United Nations. And thanks again for accepting my invitation and for sharing your time with us today. A pleasure.
Great. This was fantastic. And thank you so much for having us over, and, and congratulations on the successful summit.
Thank you.
Look forward to being in touch.
We will keep in touch for sure. Now I welcome the entire audience to meet us in the next Zoom room for the final session of the first Prime Global Students Annual Summit. Let's meet the new PGS regional leaders and see you all there. And thanks again, Sudha. A pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.